Hello, this is the Captain Paxo, welcoming you back to the weekly hunt, week 12 this time, where I have been using the Charge Blade, and I'm just gonna have to apologise to all Charge Blade users right off at the bat, because I struggle with this weapon. I really struggle with this weapon. I mean, I'm getting beaten up by a Jagras right now. Look at me. God damn. I find myself kind of underestimating the power of a lot of monsters recently. I'm going to have to reteach myself a lot of these fights because I've been kind of getting myself thrown around a lot by some monsters that really shouldn't be throwing me around all that much, like a Jagras, you know, and a Rathian and a Tobi Kadachi. With my level of experience, like 400 plus hours into this game now, I shouldn't really be getting beat up by these monsters all that much, but I'm just... I don't know. I'm playing pretty arrogantly. That, and I'm using a weapon that I'm not very comfortable with at all. I, in fact, do not like the Charge Blade. Even after the however many days, near a week that I've been using it for, I still don't like it. I've gotten better with it. A lot better. Like later in the video you'll see kind of where my skill level is now with the Charge Blade, which is a heck of a lot better than what it is at the beginning. You know, I'm not going to be getting beaten up by a Jagras, and I think one of my problems is that I focus way too much on the Ultra, but I don't have the prowess, for lack of a better term, to actually be able to go for the Ultra spam. You know, for people who are really good with the Charge Blade, sure, they can go for the Ultra on pretty much any monster and they can do very well, but I'm a very inexperienced Charge Blade user, so I should probably try to avoid using, or not avoid using, but avoid spamming the Ultra, because as powerful as it is, it does get you killed from time to time, because it's got such a massive wind up, and if you commit to it, there is a lot of recovery on it as well, so that's just something to be careful of. The Charge Blade does actually have a pretty good moveset just with the sword and board, and you don't have to focus on doing the Ultra. If you're just a bit of advice if you're trying to learn the Charge Blade as well. Use the Ultra when you can, sure, but only if you feel confident in being able to use the Ultra. If you don't, then I'd recommend charging your sword and just trying to get by using the sword and shield form as opposed to the axe form, because it has a lot fewer recover frames, or a lot less recover frames. Tripping over all my words today. But when you charge your sword, it still has the file, so you can still do the KO damage with the sword when you have it charged. You know, so you don't have to rely on the axe form to be able to get your KOs. Sure, the axe form is a hell of a lot more powerful, but the sword form, or the sword and shield form, is just a hell of a lot more versatile and a lot easier to use as well. So that's just some beginner tips that I have figured out. As we take on an Anjanath, who is pretty intent on not letting me get off my Ultra, but then I'm using it at some pretty stupid opportunities. I need to really wait for when I do have an opportunity, and when he's like able to do a hip check, that is not the right opportunity. That was the right opportunity when he was kind of fiddling around with the flames in his teeth, you know. Or right there would have been a good opportunity to punish, but a lack of confidence and me wanting to heal kind of led me to performing the actions that I did. And now Rathalos is involved, so this is going to get even more interesting. But the Rocksteady Mantle is really powerful with the Charge Blade, because of course with the giant wind-up of the Ultra, if you get interrupted at any point, whether it be by an attack or a roar, that's it, you get cancelled out of the animation. But with the Rocksteady, obviously you don't get cancelled out of animations, you don't flinch, you can't. So you can just go through the entire animation regardless of what's happening, just zero fucks given. You didn't see that. That didn't happen. That footage was forged. I did not miss my ultra. Shut up. Well, that's something that you'll find as well, is missing your ultra a lot. Just seems to be the nature of the beast when learning this weapon. But I've gotten a heck of a lot more proficient as I fire off an ultra without any files charged. What am I doing? Charge your files. There you go. Charge your sword. No. Just go straight for the ultra and completely miss. Yeah. Good plan. Dear, oh dear. You can definitely tell that this is early days. But even after all the practice that I've had with the Charge Blade, and even after kind of getting decent with the Charge Blade, I'm still not a huge fan of it, because it's still, I find it such a technically tasking weapon. Just in the sense that you have to go through the motions of heat up your sword, charge your files, charge your shield, heat up your files again, charge your files, charge your sword, and then just go for the ultra. It's this very repetitious motion where for the most part you're not really going to be using the full extent of the weapon, if you get what I mean. Like, you're only going to be using a few moves to efficiently charge up your files, and then trying to get an opportunity to be able to do the ultra, as I do right there. Which is, I guess that's why they gave you the ability to charge the sword, because it gives you a different way to play the Charge Blade, as opposed to just trying to get the ultra off over and over again. But the thing is like, it just adds another thing to do. I refer to weapons like this, where you need to kind of manage a lot of systems. I kind of call them needy weapons. They're weapons that require a lot of attention when you're playing with them. So with the Charge Blade, it's very needy, because you need to manage the shield charge, you need to maintain the sword charge if you want to do that thing. Got to keep your files charging up and dispersing them over and over again, and that's even ignoring sharpness, because sharpness is a thing, and whenever you do the ultra, it takes up quite a chunk of the sharpness. So, you know, there's a lot of things that you've got to be careful about with the Charge Blade. As I pull off some moves that actually make me look somewhat competent with it. How about that? That's the thing with the Charge Blade. It's like 50% of the time you look like a badass, and you look like you know exactly what you're doing, and you can absolutely decimate monsters. But if you're not particularly good with the Charge Blade, then the other 50% of the time you're getting thrown around by monsters that really shouldn't be giving you that much trouble. Oh, and it's very frustrating, and you're fumbling the controls, you're mucking up the combos, you're failing to charge things correctly, and you're just playing very inefficiently in general. You know? Very frustrating. The Charge Blade that I'm currently using it's a Kulve Taroth Charge Blade. It's with the Odogaron model, if you can see that. And actually, I think it's better than the Odogaron, like regular Charge Blade. I can't remember what aspect. It's equal to it in every aspect, but I think it has like better defense or something. I'm not entirely sure. But I've also got the Diablos Kulve Taroth Charge Blade, which again is just better than the regular Diablos Charge Blade in every aspect, except, you know, it has better defense. So I think, oh well, why do I need to make the regular weapons then? Unless I still want to do the completionist status, which I think I do, but I think it's going to start to get complicated, because there's only so much space that you have. There's only so much inventory space you have, so I might have to end up, I might end up having to use all 3 character slots, and then kind of splitting the, collection across all 3 characters. So say, like, one character uses 4 weapons, and then the other 2 characters use the other 10 weapons split among them. So maybe one character has like bow, sword and shield, great sword, charge blade, for example, and then another one has like light bow gun, switch axe, lance, long sword, and dual blade, something like that. You know, I might end up having to do that. I'm not decided yet because that's like, okay, I have to get another 2 characters to high rank, and this is even before G rankers rolled around. So that's just gonna get even crazier, and I'm not too sure if I'm really willing to dedicate all that much to it, but you know, maybe. Still working on trying to get those gold crowns though. They're a pain in the ass to try and get, but they'll just come with time, so I don't know. It's hard to say, like, should I really focus on them, or should I just wait and get a load of other stuff and then focus on it when I've got nothing else left to do? I don't know. But in using the charge blades, there was a couple of things that I really wanted to farm. One of those things was, I believe it was Dodogama Greaves or something? I can't quite remember, but I was fighting Dodogama for something. I can't quite remember. And then later I ended up farming Diablos for a Majestic Horn, which took far too much time, to be able to make the Diablos chest piece beta, I think it is, with just Slugger and the level 2 decoration slot. Because of course, you know, using an impact file might as well increase our KO damage, but I don't know if it's worth it, because I don't find myself actually KOing monsters all that frequently. In fact, I couldn't tell you of a single time that I actually managed to KO a monster during this entire week of using the charge blade. I mean, that is just me being bad, but at the same time, it's kind of like, should I really be investing in KO damage if I, you know, can't KO monsters? I mean, most of it is just missing my ultras, as you can see. I'm absolute pro at this. But part of me feels like maybe the charge blade, like, sure, it can KO, but maybe, you know, there are other ways to focus doing damage. So I think I might end up having to use a power element file at some point and just sort of see how I like that. The thing is I don't think I've actually got any power element files to really use immediately, so I'm going to have to build one. Which, you know, is fine and all that. But it's just more farming. But I was going to do it anyway, so why not, right? But what else are talking about, like, needy and technical weapons? Well, it's like, I would say that the, what's it called? Insect Glaive. The Insect Glaive is a fairly needy weapon, because you need to apply all 3 buffs with the Kinsect, and then you can fire it out, and then it can do its business. But you got to manage that stamina as well as the sharpness. The more things that you have to manage, the more a weapon becomes needy. Something like a lance or a greatsword or a sword and shield are not needy weapons at all, because they don't have any added benefits other than being the weapons that they are. You have no files to charge, you have no meter to manage, none of that sort of thing. It's just a stick that you beat monsters with. That's all it is, you know? Nothing too complicated about them. All of the technicalities come in the execution and what moves you decide to use in what situations. And I feel like that's something that the Charge Blade is lacking. Like I mentioned, I feel like there's a significant number of moves that you kind of just don't really use all that often with the Charge Blade, because you're so focused on charging your files and charging your shield and then doing the Ultra, that you don't really spend a lot of time with the full move set, just like 1 or 2 moves, and that's something that I'm not a big fan of. You know, I like weapons where you use every single move in the arsenal. That's why the sword and shield is my favourite weapon, is because you use every single move. All of them, you know. You use the sword moves to try and cut off a tail, you use the shield moves to try and KO a monster, and you can be pretty effective at it. You can use the backstep to dodge out of monster roars or certain attacks, or just reposition. You can use it to set up mount attacks, and do that. It's like, you use everything. Absolutely everything. It's great. Although saying that, you can use all of the moves in the charge blades, I just don't see a lot of people doing that, you know. Which is kind of a shame, because in experimenting, or with experimenting with the charge blade, there are actually quite a lot of good moves. Like, if you just do the triangle combo, you end up with like this round slash, which does give you a guard point at the end of it. It's the same as like the morph attack from axe into sword, or the just mid combo directional circle, you know, where you do that slide and round slash. It gives you a guard point at the end of it, so you can do like a cool little sword combo and then get a guard point at the end of it. So it's kind of interesting that you can do a fairly decent sword combo and then be safe at the end of it. And that sort of combo is I'm going to imagine it's going to be pretty good with a power elemental file, you know. Oh, that reminds me, actually, I should make the Devil Joe Charge Blade. If I'm going to go for a power elemental file, I should go for the Devil Joe Charge Blade, because that thing's meant to be really powerful. I mean, all of the Devil Joe weapons are really strong, and the Charge Blade is a power element file, you know, arguably the strongest power elemental file. So if I'm going to experiment with that, then might as well go with the strongest, right? And I need an excuse to fight more Devil Joe, because I am lacking in experience versing that monster, like a lot of experience. Oh boy, do I need practice against Devil Joe, because I just don't fight him all that often, you know. He's a cool monster, he's like Basil Goose. I just, for the most part, don't see much of a reason to really get involved with him. As we managed to get the paralysis off on the Pink Rathian here. What am I doing? That is not an effective way to do your Ultra. But I was thinking, like, the Pink Rathian's paralyzed. It's not going to be paralyzed for very long. It's not going to, like, be paralyzed all that often. I might as well make the most of it, because it's like, it's an opportunity. I need to get my damage out. I don't know. Charge Blade. How do you people do it? I really don't know. Charge Blade just frustrates me, because I always feel like I'm putting myself in way too much of a risky position to be able to do some of the moves, and I just end up getting punished for it. But then, you know, you see other people online using the Charge Blade, and they just completely ruin any monster that they go up against with relatively little effort, or relative ease, I should say, you know. But I guess it's just one of those things where it's like, whatever weapon you're most comfortable with is your best weapon, you know. Like, I might not be very comfortable with Charge Blade, but a lot of other people might be, because it's, I mean, for all intents and purposes, it is one of the strongest weapons in the game in terms of excuse me, potential damage output. That, and it also has a pretty versatile moveset, and a really good ability to KO if you're using an impact file. And on top of that, of course, you have whatever status you want to apply to it, whether it be like paralysis or just raw damage or whatever, like sleep if you're that way inclined. It can kind of do a bit of everything, but what it's really good at is just dealing shit tons of damage. But of course, all of that damage comes at the cost of, well, maybe being particularly difficult to use, and maybe, you know, being very open to punishes when you don't use it correctly, like I don't. I hate that move that the Pink Rathian has, or really all rats, and a lot of monsters actually have that move, where they just sort of charge forward. It's like, Because it doesn't look like an attack. You know? I've said it before, and I'll probably say it again. I don't like attacks that don't look like attacks. You know? It's like I was playing Neo the other day, and there's like this... The first boss has like these like chain and balls. Ball and chains. He uses them as weapons, and he can kind of spin them around. And I was standing next to one of the balls and chains when it turned into an active hitbox, when it became a weapon, in a sense. But the thing is when it becomes a weapon, is when it just starts to go into motion. So it doesn't look like it's turned into a weapon yet. It doesn't look like, you know, it's brought up the momentum. It's not, like, spinning fast enough to be an active hitbox to actually do damage. But lo and behold, it turns into an active hitbox the moment that that monster decides that it's going to turn into a weapon and he's going to attack with it. So I was touching it when it turned into a hitbox just as the attack was landing, and it killed me. I know this isn't Monster Hunter, but it kind of pertains to, like, it didn't look like it was ready to be a weapon, but the game was like, no, that's definitely an active hitbox. So, you know, there's frustrations in a lot of games where there's certain enemies have moves that maybe you question, like, hang on a minute, how are you meant to be able to tell that that's actually a move? Because some of them come out so quickly. Like, it turned into, like, with the ball and chain example, it turned into an active hitbox the moment he started to wind up. It was essentially like the moment that it started to move, it turned into a weapon and had its full damage potential, which just felt really, really cheap on my end when I was touching it for the moment that it started the wind up and hadn't really reached its max potential yet. And it's the same thing with Rathian, because, or the Wrath's, like, charge type, when they run forwards, it can come out so fast that it doesn't feel like, when you're right next to its leg, it doesn't feel like it should really knock you off your ass. Trip you, maybe. Do a little bit of damage, sure, but to do, like, full damage and, like, knock you on your backside, it just feels kind of cheap. It feels really nasty to get hit by it, especially when they can just pull it out of nowhere. You know, they can do, like, a bite with Pink Rathian. She can do that bite attack that she does right there, and then immediately go into a charge if you're too close. You know, or if she just decides like it. Very frustrating. But that's just understanding your monster and trying to respect it, in the sense that, like, it can have some nonsense if it wants to. Just like that. But it can be... Speaking of this move, it can be very difficult to actually guard point it. I don't guard point it at this anymore, because it's like every time I try to guard point it, I always fuck it up, because the hitbox, it's not weird, it feels weird, it's completely fine. Like, it's on the head and it's on the legs and just the general hitbox. You can scoot under her legs to avoid the attack, but just in the way that she motions trying to do the attack, it can be very hard to predict what part of the body you're actually going to get hit by. Like, are you going to get hit by the head, or are you going to get hit by the legs? And knowing which one you're going to get hit by kind of determines when you do the guard point. Because if you do it too early, you're going to get whacked. If you do it too late, well, then you're going to get whacked. So you need to know, do you do it early or do you do it a little bit later? And like I said, it can be a little bit hard to predict, just thanks to the motions. So it's honestly just safer to block. I'm still kind of unsure of the advantages of doing guard points, other than looking like a badass. Like with the morph attack, or just morphing into axe form. Like that guard point, all it does, from my understanding, is that it will do a little bit of file damage if your shield's charged. And it will charge your files, but the thing that I thought initially was the point of guard points was being able to perform a certain action whilst being able to guard. But when you try and go into axe form, it doesn't put you in axe form. when you guard point it, it'll just bash you back into sword and shield form. But, like I said, I now understand it that if your shield is charged, then it'll do a little bit of file damage on the monster, and it also charges your files. But your shield doesn't have to be charged for it to charge your files. You just have to do a guard point to charge your files with the charge blade. I'm not too sure if you can block and it just charges your files. I think so. It might give you an increased value if you guard point it. I don't know. But then with the round slash and the when you do the cancel like that from the super to charge your shield or whatnot, that kind of round slash, it allows you to perform an action and then be safe from a counter attack. What am I doing there? It's like, goodness. I just threw that out there and it was like, don't even have my files charged. It's a really bad time to do it. This is going to be a big punish, but fuck it, right? Let's throw it out there, see what happens. And somehow didn't get clipped by the Rathian. Not sure what happened there. Like I said, I have a really hard time telling when I should actually go for the Ultra. But it's all in the process of learning the Charge Blade. And I will be doing a second week of the Charge Blade. Like I said in the last episode, you know, this week was a bit shorter, so it wasn't really enough time to really use the Charge Blade to its fullest extent and really learn it. But also, it's a weapon that I haven't put nearly enough time into, and it's a very technical and very difficult weapon to use, so I've really got to put my time into it, grit my teeth, and just learn it. As painful as this weapon is for me to use, and I'm sure it's kind of painful for people who are experienced with the Charge Blade to watch, I am learning with it, and I am getting better. So hopefully this time next week, I will actually be good with this weapon, and I can feel confident in my ability to use it. And then we can move on to the next weapon, which I don't know what it will be. I haven't spun the wheel, I haven't had anyone request a weapon for me to use after the Charge Blade. So, again, gotta beg the question, what weapons do you guys want to see me try and main for a week? After next week's Charge Blade, of course. Double Charge Blade. Because otherwise it is just going to be random every single week, and we might end up with, or you might end up seeing a weapon that you're not particularly interested in, and it might be a really long time until you get to the weapon that you are particularly interested in watching me use and learn and be terrible at, and you get to laugh and point and go, haha, I'm so much better than you, and then, you know, be a nice person and give me some tips on how to use it. As Rathian is now exhausted, if you haven't noticed, this is a solo arena quest, and I've said in a previous installment of the weekly hunt that I'm not a big fan of doing arena quests solo, and I'm still not. They still really piss me off, because it's like the monster has its full attention on you, so it can be very difficult to actually get an opportunity to be able to sharpen or do your thing, you know, reapply some buffs if need be. Whereas with multiple people there, it's like it becomes a little bit easier. On top of that, you've got double the damage, and it's not like the monster gains any more health from being in multiplayer, because that's not how arena quests work. Arena quest monsters are just they're scaled to multiplayer, regardless of if you're by yourself or with another player. It's kind of annoying, you know. Which basically means that if you're playing it solo, it's gonna give you a hell of a lot more difficulty than if you're playing in multiplayer, because you're not able to do as much damage, and the monster's just got as much health. So when you bring someone in, well, then it just becomes a hell of a lot easier. And yeah, I do like the arena quests when I'm actually playing with someone. thing is like not a lot of people actually do arena quests, or people who do arena quests usually already have all of the things that they want. Probably because they've played enough arena quests to get everything that they could possibly need at this point. So it can be a little bit tasking to try and find someone to do an arena quest with you, but honestly, the best way to do it is to create your own session and then tag it like the quest preference as arena, and then the message like looking for partners, and then someone should come along and join you, hopefully. It's worked out for me quite a few times at this point, and God, does it make doing arena quests a lot less of a hassle, you know? It makes it so much more of a pleasant experience. What is this Radoban doing? Just rolled off like, peace, I'm out. Nah, get back here. We're gonna fight. God, it's kind of painful to watch how bad I am with the Charge Blade. But on top of that, I am kind of rusty in Monster Hunter World. I've been playing a lot of other games, kind of trying to juggle them recently, and as much as I still want to play Monster Hunter World, it's like either I gotta dedicate to it to kind of shake all of the rust off, or I just gotta go play something else for a bit, you know. But I'm not giving up on Monster Hunter. I mean, I haven't got everything yet, have I? Oh my god. It actually makes me look good. But then that's just the Rocksteady for you. What am I doing putting... Oh. I got very confused there. Like, why am I putting away my Charge Blade? This is such a massive opportunity for damage. Ah, just mining Radoban's back. I don't think you really get anything good out of mining Radoban's back, but apart from like Wyvern Bone Mass. Which, you know, you do get a decent amount off of Radoban. I gotta be careful here, and I might accidentally kill this capture target. Which I've done far too many times with the Charge Blade. The Charge Blade more so than any other weapon in the game. Save for maybe the Greatsword. Because the thing about the Charge Blade is it just does so much damage in such a short span of time. You know. It can make it very difficult to judge when a monster is actually ready for capture. And when you're in the heat of the moment and you're using a weapon you're not particularly comfortable with, especially a more technical weapon like the Charge Blade, where you're having a lot of things to think about, you maybe not so much keeping an eye on the mini-map that has the skull marker, and you just fucking killed the capture target. Mistakes were made. Mistakes were most certainly made. Speaking of Basil Goose, actually, wow, haven't spoken about Basil Goose for a while in this episode, but this is pretty much just how much I was enjoying Charge Blade right now, or at this moment. I was taking on Basil Goose, or Juice, or however you want to pronounce it. Same difference. Making a lot of mistakes, and I am about to die right here. This is not good. Please don't tell me he's just gonna like walk into me, because like I said with the Rathian, kind of just being able to walk into you. Basil Goose has a very similar move where he runs towards you, and it looks like he's just trying to catch up with you. This is death right here. Oh god, that was scary. But it looks like he's just trying to catch up with you, but he's actually turned his whole body into a hurt box, and I just hate it. Such a dumb move. But what can you do? It's just one of those things that he does. This is bad. Yeah, this is real bad. This was very frustrating for me at the time. Using any sort of weapon. Yeah. Any weapon that you're not comfortable with, the losses hurt twice as bad as if you're using a weapon that you are comfortable with. Because more often than not, if you're using a weapon that you are comfortable with, then you kind of have a little bit more fun fighting monsters, whereas when you're using a weapon that you're not comfortable with, I find I tend to get a lot more frustrated at my mistakes. And, you know, dying is probably the biggest mistake you can make, especially when it's followed, or preceded, rather, by a lot of mistakes in using a particular weapon. Which is just Charge Blade all over. But this is me using the Diablos Charge Blade, or Diablos Taroth Charge Blade, which is better than the regular Diablos Charge Blade. I think it has the exact same stats in every aspect, same decorations, which is none, but then it has like 10 more defense, I believe. So why would you ever use the regular Charge Blade, or the regular Diablos over the Diablos Taroth, you know? Which is, you know, I'm not too sure how I feel about that with the Kulve Taroth weapons. I'm not too sure how I feel about the, okay, this weapon is literally just a direct upgrade from this other weapon. Because I feel like if that's the case, then it kind of renders certain weapons completely useless. Like, why would you bother making them when you can just get a better version from Kulve Taroth, you know? Which is my question. Why would I ever use the regular Diablos Charge Blade when I have the Taroth Diablos Charge Blade? Because it's better. Or rather, it's the exact same in every single aspect, other than defense, where it's better. You know? So why would I ever build that other than completionist status? And it's, I don't know. It's hard to say where my completionist status is gonna lead me, because it's like, if I'm gonna go and make those other two characters to kind of expand on all of the weapons, then unfortunately that means I'm gonna have to delete a bunch of shit on this character, which I'm not too sad about. It's more the ginormous time investment that I'm gonna have to put into the other two characters that are nowhere near like high rank. And then once I get them to high rank, then I'm gonna have to farm all of the armors all over again, and all of the hunter rank, and all of the arena quests, and all of that. And then that opens up a whole nother metric of completionist status. You know, do I try and get all of the trophies on all three characters, or do I just say bugger it, I'm only doing it on one character? You know, which is probably what I'll end up doing. But it's, I don't know. It's a bit of it's a dilemma. It's quite a pickle indeed at this point. Just trying to decide, how do I go about this? Because there's not enough inventory space. You get I say this like it's actually a problem for most people, but you only get 1,000 spaces or 1,000 slots for equipment. I know this because when you pick up like the Kulve Taroth weapons, it says, oh, you have this much inventory out of 1,000, you know, and for me it's like 800 and something out of 1,000. Oh, watch this pro guard point. Look at that. Totally intended. I am absolutely pro and you can't say nothing about it. But yeah, I'm saying that like it's a problem for most people. Oh, what's this? You can only have like 1,000 pieces of equipment. Oh, it's so shit. It's like, it's a problem that only completionists will have, like me. Especially if I want to get all of the Kulve Taroth weapons, because that's another road for completionist status, getting all of the Kulve Taroth weapons, which is not a smart idea by any stretch of the imagination, considering there's like, what, 300 Kulve Taroth weapons? It's just like, what are you doing? And maybe I should just delete all of my low rank armor to try and make a bit more room for all of this stuff. I don't know. It's all kind of general ideas and a big fear of, holy shit, I've got a lot of stuff to do if I really am serious about getting the completionist status, which, considering I'm planning on doing the weekly hunt for a very, very long time, I think I might as well go for the completionist status, just because it's gonna help kind of elongate the weekly hunt. It's gonna give me an incentive to keep playing and keep making videos, because I do enjoy making videos, even if I am a little bit burnt out on Monster Hunter World. I mean, I've put 400 hours into this game. Right, 400 hours into, how many months has it been? Like 4 or 5 months the world has been out. When did it come out? Was it January or February? I forget. It feels like it's been so long. But I've put a shit ton of time into Monster Hunter World, so there's no wonder that I'm a little bit burnt out on it. So, you know, like I said, starting to juggle different games just to try and give myself a little bit of a break from just spamming Monster Hunter World every single day, because it does get a bit tiring. I'm that kind of player where I'll play a game just a huge amount of time for like the first couple of months, and then I'll get bored and do something else. But I want to keep playing Monster Hunter World. I kind of want to dedicate to it, but in order to do that and try and avoid fatigue, I gotta slow down on it a little bit. You know, slow down on all of the Monster Hunter World stuff. Kind of play it only so much a week, you know. Which is why, well, progress for the, like, completionist status or whatever, it's gonna slow down, because I'm gonna be playing Monster Hunter World less. But that's okay. It just means there's gonna be more videos in the long run, right? More time to talk about random shit. So it's all good. But as you can see, my skills with the Charge Blade, if you want to call them that, they are improving, they are getting a little bit better. I'm starting to understand it more so than I did when the week first started off and I was first starting to use it against that Jagras. I mean, oh, that was nasty. It was almost embarrassing how much I was getting beaten up by that Jagras, actually. But now that we've used it for a much more significant amount of time, we're actually getting to the point where I'm almost confident with this weapon. Almost. Not quite, but almost. So like I said, hopefully by the end of next week, I will actually be confident with this weapon. Because that's the goal, right? The goal is to get to the point where I can use every single weapon in the game. You know, I'm comfortable with all of them. If you say, hey, do you mind going this weapon? Because we've got too many of this weapon on our squad. Or, hey, do you mind going Hunting Horn? It's going to really help us out. Or, are you good with this weapon? Can you do this? Can you do that? I'm going to be like, yeah, I can do that. Or if I just decide, you know what, I kind of want to use this weapon, I can be like, I'm going to use this weapon. I don't need to learn it. Maybe I might need a little bit of practice to shake off the rust, but I can use it. Yeah, given a little bit of practice. And then, you know, bada bing, bada boom, bada bing, bang, bosh, look at me. Aren't I pro? As we are doing the Sakura event quest again. Because there's always something to get, isn't there? Always new event quests, and I gotta be honest, I was getting a little bit tired of just doing the Golden Crown quests. Because as good as they are for getting gold crowns, I only need like 2 gold crowns in the whole of the Ancient Forest. I think I need like a Puke miniature crown, and then a Tobi Kadachi giant crown, or something like that. It's a very small amount. We'll see at the end of the video when I show off the guild card. But it's only like a small amount of gold crowns that I need from the Ancient Forest, but there's like a bunch of other monsters from other areas, like maybe Wildspire Wastes or Coral Highlands, that I maybe don't have all of the size crowns for. You know, maybe I want to go farm some of them. Maybe I want a different taste in scenery, you know? Ah, good. I think I need to get some Odogaron stuff. I need to get an Odogaron gem to be able to make the Dante charge blade, because I got all of the red orbs for all of the Dante equipment, but I don't have the gem to be able to make the charge blade, which is a little bit frustrating. But hey, I'll be using it next week with the second week of the charge blade, as I'm trying to figure out how exactly this weapon works. Or I know how it works, but just trying to figure out how best to use it and how to not get completely eviscerated. Which I think I am doing a lot better of a job, like I said, but I feel like I'm still way too cautious. Sometimes, like, I feel like I can push my aggression a bit more, which is good. It shows I'm getting a bit more confident with this weapon. Confident, competent, they kind of go hand in hand, don't they? But I'm getting a bit more confident with the charge blade, so hopefully at some point I can get a bit more aggressive with it, like I do with the sword and shield and whatnot. And maybe we can start seeing some really cool, like, crazy, like, 3-minute kills of Nergigante. God damn it, that's another monster I need to farm a lot of. Haven't fought a lot of Nergigante, like, at all. Ever. There's not a lot of things that I actually need from him, even though he does have some of the best weapons in the game. I don't know. I just never found a good reason to really farm him. And now I'm suddenly thinking about all of the things that I need to farm, like Volhazak. Look at that shit. Goes straight from a bite straight into a goddamn 3-way charge. It's just like, oh my god. What is recovery? Complete load of nonsense. I absolutely hate it. Oh, well. I never actually checked if you could actually get some rewards off of carving this Rathian. I don't think you can, because it's an arena quest and you can't get like monster parts out of arena quests. You only get like the coins and the tokens and all that, which sucks because I need a shite ton of what are they called? Rathian Spike Pluses. I need like 9 just to be able to make the charge blade. That was a good hit though. Go from the charge the sword attack, I don't even know what it's called, straight into the ultra. Am I going to try and go for another ultra? Yeah, I am. Oh, watch this, by the way. Didn't that look cool? That fireball wouldn't have come out, by the way. As cool as that looked, she was exhausted, which means that she can't breathe fire. Just a little FYI. If you know that a Rathian or a Rathalos is exhausted, know that they cannot breathe fire. It's impossible for them. However, as soon as they come out of being exhausted, they can breathe all the fire they damn well want. This was actually the last Rathian that I needed to, or the last Sakura quest that I needed to do, because before that I did 2 solo quests where I got C rank, and when you get C rank you only get 1 token, and then I paired up with this dude and we managed to get a B rating, which when you get a B rating gives you 2 tokens, as I eat a fireball straight to the face. I do like that. I like that there is actually an incentive to try and get the good ratings, because it increases your farming speed. It gives you more things, more tokens, more gear, faster gear. And now I remember all of the fucking arena quest tokens that I need to get for all of the armor and all of the weapons. Oh my god. It's tough trying to get everything in this game. There's so much. Like, there is just so much. If you want my advice, straight up, just ignore low rank. Don't bother getting low rank armor. It doesn't help you. You'll never use it. High rank, sure, but maybe don't try and get every single weapon, because some weapons are completely worthless. Or maybe if you want to get every variant of certain weapons, maybe only go for a handful of weapons. You know, maybe don't go for every single weapon, because that will just eventually hurt you in the long run, because it's just... There's so many things to get otherwise. Like on Generations, I am focusing on the sword and shield and the bow, and I'm thinking about extending it to the hunting horn as well. You know, get some hunting horn action in there. But for the most part, I've just been using sword and shield and the bow. And it's been good fun, but I've now got quite a few things to farm. I finally got onto like Verdant Hills, so I can make like Velocidrome and Velociprey stuff, and can actually start upgrading my sword and shields, because before that I had like base sword and shield. So even though it was my favourite weapon, I was kind of struggling against some of the monsters because I just didn't do good damage. Which is a shame, but it is what it is. Oh, that would have been awesome if she got KO'd from that. But like I said, I don't seem to KO monsters with the Charge Blade, no matter how hard I try. And I am bad, and all of that sort of good stuff. But at the same time, it's very frustrating. And it's making me think, well, why should I bother going for a Slugger setup? Why should I bother trying to go for KO instead of just going for raw damage? So I don't know. It's experimentation. I need to do some experimenting. I feel like I should have done a second week of the light bow gun, just so I could have done a bit more experimenting. Like, that's my one regret from the week of the light bow gun, is that I pretty much only used the one weapon. Oh, this is quite cool. Watch this. So I'm stunned. My friend misses me, but then goes, "I'll protect you." Just dives in front of the fireball. I don't think that was intended, but fucking looked cool. Oh boy. But yeah, this has been the week of the Charge Blade. So I'd like to thank you very much for watching, and I am now going to leave you with my guild card. As you can see, I still haven't really been playing a whole heck of a lot, but it is what it is. Anyway, thank you very much for watching, and I'll catch you next time.